Life's too short to drive boring cars. I've had many people reach out and ask the question, hey Mark, should I or should I not buy a BMW? I'm here to tell you that's a bit of a complicated conversation because from my opinion, there's many people that should be driving a BMW and there's many others that absolutely should not without question. After all, BMWs make some of the best driving experiences across the industry without question, but yet on the other hand, they're not cheap to run. So let's get into the whole conversation about who should buy a BMW. Let's get into it now. Well, let's start out by saying people that by default should have some money in the account. So people that want to buy a BMW should be relatively well heeled. Whether you're buying a brand new BMW like one of these beauties right here, it's going to cost you a lot of money. I mean, the average cost of a BMW today is in that $70,000 to $80,000 Canadian range. I mean, you can get them as low as $50,000, but you can pay upwards closer to $200,000 in Canadian dollars if you're buying one of the M8 variations or an M5 CS. So they're not cheap vehicles, and if you don't have a lot of money, it's probably not the best car for you to buy. But some of you are probably asking, well, what if I don't buy brand new? Because brand new is expensive. What if I buy a used vehicle? Well, like this one right here, we have a used BMW, and there's lots of used BMWs on the market. Now, of course, it becomes very affordable. Why? Because they're very expensive to maintain. So if you're looking at a 5-year-old BMW that's rolling off a warranty, coming off a lease return, and it's just you, the car, and your wallet, well, just be careful. So if you need money to buy a BMW new, you probably need money to buy a BMW used. And the reason I say that is, as they get older, they start to wear out, and now that's where they get really expensive. So it's almost like pay me now or pay me later. For example, right here we have this beautiful little 3 Series BMW. Now this is a 2017 320 and it's X-Drive, so this is good for on the snow and ice. So I can see why a lot of people love these. 17, that means it's going on 5 years old. This car guaranteed has no more warranty, and as soon as you start to get into that 70, 80, 90,000 kilometer range, you're going to start to see wear and tear. Water pumps, thermostats. This also, because it's the 320, has the N20 engine, which is the turbo 4-cylinder engine, 2-liter, and it was problematic with oil filter collapses, and even more importantly, timing chain failures were prevalent, particularly in the older versions of this, if you dial it back a few more years, but it was a common issue with some of the earlier N20 engines. So as they get older, you have problems that warranty won't cover you anymore. Some of the cooling systems start to leak. Now you've got water pumps, thermostat issues, brakes, tires, and you'd be surprised how many nickel and dime repairs start to come along after a little while with one of these cars. So while they do seem great value, and they are because they're still great driving cars, it's truly the point of you either need to have the money now or have money in your bank account to pay for some of the repairs that you're going to see with some of these cars. Now, more to the point of who else should be buying these cars, I wouldn't suggest buying a BMW for a non-enthusiast. In other words, you've got to love cars. You've got to love the way they look, the way they drive, the way they sound, because you're committed. Financially and otherwise, these cars are going to take a little more attention and a little more dollars out of your pocket to maintain, so it's got to be a love affair with your car. For example, take a look right here. We have this gorgeous BMW 440. Look right there, you've got this beautiful carbon fiber on the front. You know that's going to take a hit. When you hit a few snowbanks like that over there, that's guaranteed. You're going to potentially see splitting carbon fiber pieces there. You're also going to have lower profile wheels, and these rims often can take a hit and possibly easy to dent and damage those wheels if you hit a curb. Right here, we've got some beautiful carbon fiber mirrors. All the features like soft touch, M-Drive systems, low riding body panels, loud exhaust. In this case, you have a stainless steel exhaust by M, and wonderful carbon fiber bits at the back, which can get damaged if you back over a concrete bollard. But it's this beautiful 440 that provides you with the turbo 6-cylinder engine that puts down blistering performance numbers. But do a lot of old people, or do you want your kids driving a car with over 300 horsepower? Not really necessary for most people, but for car enthusiasts it is. So truly a BMW is focused on the driver, and if you're not a true driver, don't bother, save your money. The 440s are good, but they're not quite as extreme as right over here. We have an M4, previous generation, S55 engine. They start over 400 horsepower. These things are blistering, blindingly quick. Sadly, right there, this isn't an uncommon scene with these cars. Neither are engine lights behind the dash. And the fact that we have, looks like rubber marks here, and we also have a new windshield tells me this car was probably in a light collision or sustained some sort of damage during this last icy season. But again, it's a compromise, and that's why if you want to buy one of these, you've got to be committed to the brand and be willing to put up with some of the maintenance issues, concerns, and the additional costs. But let's take a quick look. Beautiful M4 right there. Wonderful mirrors, non-carbon there, but you do have a carbon fiber roof, is absolutely gorgeous. And a carbon fiber rear tail on here. Wonderful, look at the contours of that. Absolutely gorgeous on this M4. And they have these wonderful taillights, LED style. Now you've got the quad exhaust tips on these vehicles and wonderful little extra vents and accents. How about the flares on these cars? What about the inside? Strongly bolstered seats, carbon fiber trim, and the latest M-Drive system in these vehicles. So again, if you're a true driving enthusiast, BMWs are one of your one-stop shops. However, if it's driving, performance, looks, styling, and sound is not your forte, don't bother, save your money. Now, in my opinion, another person you should be if you're going to drive a BMW, what we have here is an X6, which is the SAV Sport Activity Vehicle. I actually personally own an X5, and it's the 35D, has the diesel engine. Great engine. For the most part, when things are running, they're tickety. The vehicle feels very well planted, well put together, but when it breaks, it's big bucks. Let me give you an example. 2 weeks ago, I had to take my car into the dealership. Why? Normally, I fix everything myself as much as I can. If there's a leak, I fix it. Something breaks off, I fix it. Normally I'm pretty handy, and that's why I'm able to maintain a used BMW. But if you're going to run a used BMW or something that's on the verge of running out of warranty or is out of warranty, for example like this, you better be sure that you can do some troubleshooting and some repairs yourself as a DIYer. Because my vehicle died here. It was minus 35 degrees Celsius. I had to call a dealer. I had to call him to tow the vehicle in. I couldn't work on it. It was just too cold. The vehicle wouldn't start. I tried charging it. It was dead. Absolutely dead. After 2 days of putting a charger on it, it wouldn't tolerate. Also, it looked like there might have been a leak underneath, so I decided I was going to take it in, let the dealers deal with it. So they showed up, tow truck, drove it into the dealership, did some diagnostics. They charge you for diagnostics, $169. Then they asked if I wanted an engine shampoo because we thought there were some leaks, oil leaks and whatnot. So they wanted to investigate, so they charged me almost $200 for the shampoo of the engine. But then they realized, yes, they confirmed what I already knew, and the battery was dead. So they said, what do you want to do? I said, put a new battery in. The problem with BMWs, some of these you need to recode. So if you put a new battery in, you actually have to tell the computer through a program that it actually has a new battery, or you could find yourself facing another early deterioration on that battery. Long story short, all they did was try to charge it, shampoo the engine, essentially topped up a little diesel exhaust fluid, which is about $10 a jug, and they put a new battery and coated it. Do you know what that cost me? $1,200. That is absolutely maniac. I think that's just a gouge. That's personally supreme gouge fest, but that's the point. If you're not able to do some of these repairs yourself, you're gonna pay for every one of those big repairs. I also did a water pump and thermostat on my last BMW 335 with the N54. I did that myself. I have a buddy that got me cheap prices on the parts. I did it all myself. It was a day in the garage. It was a lot of work because you had to pull half the bottom of the engine out to actually replace these parts. Very annoying to change. It took me about 6 or 7 hours to do the full job, but I did it. And I did all of it for probably about $500. When I know what the dealer is going to charge you, that's going to be a $2,500 fix. So I'm telling you right now, DIY. And if you don't know how to DIY, you shouldn't be driving a BMW. Another person you have to be, in my opinion, to be able to buy a BMW is somebody who appreciates the latest innovation, the best performance and technology, because not every brand is about that. For example, Lexus. No one's going to argue Lexus is a bad car. They're amazing. They last forever, they run forever, but they're never going to be accused of being breakthrough. They're never going to be accused of doing the latest and greatest in terms of technology, and certainly their performance is never anywhere near the top players. For example, like BMW. Right here, we have a 7 Series. So those that do really enjoy the finer things in life, like Rolex watches and fine cars, you might find it in a Mercedes S-Class or a BMW 7 Series, for example. I won't promise you, though, it won't come without expenses or repairs because they're some of the most unreliable BMWs. But if you want the latest and greatest, those are the people, these are the cars, this is where you're gonna go. For example, you've got the great LED headlights on the 7 Series. Of course, they also have a very prominent chin. The car looks strong from the side. Great black accents. You have these wonderful oversized grills in the new BMW 7 Series. Big sunroof on top. Wonderful lines on the hood. Gives it a nice contour and shape. Wonderful wheels. How about those vents? And great mirrors with a little LED trim on it. How about these wonderful two-tone with chrome handles? Strong rockers. And around here you have these wonderful LED taillights. And look, it's a 750, so it has the twin turbo 4.4 liter V8, and it has 2 exhaust tips on it, full of carbon as you would expect. And it's an X-Drive, so you can drive this car all year round, snow, mud, and ice. And the interior, of course, does nothing but keep you in the lap of luxury with high quality finishing, luxurious appointments. They pull out all the stops for luxury. So really, at the end of the day, if you love cars, you love the way they drive, BMWs are always the place to go. On the other hand, I would never recommend one to somebody who doesn't have the money, can't fix it themselves. I definitely wouldn't recommend one for my parents or my kids because I know they're on limited income and they would not be able to sustain these vehicles in proper order, and they'd be living in a world of hurt, because that's what BMWs can certainly do for you. And with all of that said, right there, check it out. You're gonna love that. The best luxury cars on the market today. Hope to see you real soon. Catch you then. Bye-bye.